If Matt Damon has taught us nothing else, and he hasn't, it is as follows. If you live on Mars, you're a Martian. And by extension, if you're from Mauritania, you're a Mauritanian. Oh. I asked my long-suffering wife, Marie, what do you call someone from Marseille?
Oh my gosh, I never thought of this.
A Marseillan. Marseillite?
Marseillian?
I have
think
no
it's
idea.
Marsalian.
Marseillian.
No, that sounds like an alien.
Marseille. I have no... Anyway.
We could look it up.
This is the sort of thing we ponder because we went to south of France and we went to Marseille.
A Marseillan.
Marseillan?
I think it's a Marseillan.
Marseillite?
I think I have seen this written down before.
You're probably right. I'm just wondering because here's the deal. A minute's worth of internet research would have saved me a lifetime of embarrassment because I don't know the answer. But we went to Marseille, and it's in the south of France, and it's actually kind of a cool little place.
It is very cool.
We should talk about that right now on this very short day trip edition of Voca Vacay. That's Marie over there.
That's Frank.
Voca Vacay starts right now.
Prepare yourself for the bestest, amazingest, and overall super-duperest travel program in the history of ever. Vacation like it's your job and live vicariously through yourself. It's time now for Voca Vacay.
Okay, this is another short edition of Voca Vacay because this is what we call a day trip, where it's not a full-blown extravaganza episode, which is about an hour long. A day trip, we basically look at one little place, which is kind of an appendage of another vacation, or it's a little day trip. You get to bop someplace for a few hours and go, hey, this is nice.
It's like, you plan something, any kind of vacation or trip, and then you end up with an extra pocket of time because you either didn't get to do something or something went faster during your plans,
and
like what you had planned.
You have bonus time in a vacation place.
Or it's like you find out that you can make a stop in between leaving one place to go to another.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, I just ran into 4 extra hours because we had to check out of the hotel earlier than we thought.
And it's a long layover or you got to wait for a train, something like that. Anyway, it's a day trip.
I love them.
Make the most out of these little hidden nuggets of time because you're someplace else. You already paid for the plane ticket, so you might as well enjoy the day trip.
I love day trips.
Day trips are awesome. Let's take one.
Okay.
Hey, let's take a day trip.
All I knew about Marseille going into this day trip was that it is a port city on the south of France.
Yeah.
And we were basically this MSC cruise ship series. We did a 4-part episode on this. You can find it on vocavacay.com. And we talked about all the different things, but we didn't talk about where we launched from, which is Marseille.
Marseille, yeah. And we had planned the Med cruise to take us around, but then we did a few extra trips before getting on the cruise because we weren't just going to fly over, get on the cruise, and come back home.
No. I mean, Delta has already cashed the check and spent the money. You're already in France, so do something else while you're sitting around there.
Yeah, and then so we had to come back and drop the car off from doing the other trips before we got on the ship proper. And so that's when we said, oh, we have like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Let's go around Marseille and see what this place is all about. Yeah.
So we did that. A couple things logistically, just so you know, when you're flying into Marseille, let's start with that. When you're flying into Marseille, the airport is not downtown.
Right.
The airport is actually about a 30-minute car drive from the airport.
Right.
So don't expect to just land in Marseille and walk out, because there are some cities you go, hey, here's the airport, here's the town, everything is good. No. This is away from the city itself. So you got to take a shuttle bus into town. It'll cost you like $10 American, or take an Uber. Uber does exist over there.
Oh, it was great.
And we totally did that.
And we talked about our Uber driver in one of the other Med Cruise
series
episodes.
Yeah.
And so Uber works, and it is great.
And it works great. And you find out that this place was founded 2,000 years ago or 2,600 years ago by the Greeks.
Yeah.
It is the third largest city in France. I had no idea, but there is
Is it the third or the second? I don't remember what I read.
Oh, I read third. I think it is the second now.
Yeah, I think it's the second.
Yeah, it was third. I had some old data, but yeah, I was looking at that. It's like, it's growing.
Yeah.
And it has new cultures coming in, new foods coming in. And one of the reasons that you said, let's check this out, you have a personal hero, Anthony Bourdain.
So when we were like, okay, we're going to spend some time here, it's like we have this opportunity to do that. What do I know about this place? Well, I watched Parts Unknown for years and was a big fan of Anthony Bourdain before we lost him and he was off the air.
Right.
And I knew that he had gone to what people call the capital of Provence, which is Marseille. And he made this really good quote that I wrote down.
Okay.
Because I just want to get our viewers in the mindset of what this place is like. The vibe, the general vibe, the culture. We talk about this every time we talk about a new place.
Sure.
And so I thought this was a great way to start off. Okay. Here's this quote from Parts Unknown that Anthony Bourdain has about his first ever visit to Marseille.
Do it.
If you've been to France, chances are you haven't been here. He's talking about Marseille. France's second largest city, the oldest city in France. It sits right by the Mediterranean. The food is famously good. Yet it's a victim of a bad reputation, bad history. Marseille, as it turns out, is exactly the kind of place I like. Now, that's fantastic. He also goes on to say that Marseille, as it turns out, is the pizza truck capital of France. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to kind of what he's getting at.
Yeah.
Which is it's a very multicultural city. They call it the French Ellis Island. There's lots of immigration from North Africa, the Greeks, the Italians. Right now, it's trying to sort of change its reputation. People kind of look at it in France like it's poor, it's rough, it's crime ridden. It's a port that attracts all kinds of different people to come over, and so cultures can clash.
Yes.
And so right now they're trying to redo sort of like their reputation and make it a destination of sun, sea, seafood, culture, and not just a commercial center, but a destination, and not with this like reputation that it has.
Yeah. And here's the deal. It's a victim of it's own geography.
Sure.
For good and bad. And the good side is, dude, you're on the French Riviera.
Right.
Dude, I just duded France. Dude, you're on the French Riviera. So what's the problem here? Everything is good. It's lovely and all this. But when people... it's a port. It's a seaport. It's a large seaport.
And when lots of different people from different cultures get around each other,
there
can be some unapologetic flamboyance. Let's just say.
Yeah, not everybody plays nice in the sandbox at the same time.
Sure.
That's just reality.
Right.
So, but our experiences there were absolutely fine.
Oh, we had a great time. Everyone was kind. All the locals were great. We ended up kind of choosing, because I had only known about it from watching Parts Unknown, choosing sort of the area that Anthony Bourdain started in, which is the old port area. So basically what we did was there's lots of different stuff to see. I actually wanted to share with our listeners some things that you can do in the city.
You bet.
And so I'll talk about those really quickly, and then we'll talk about what we did in the place we just chose to go to.
Absolutely.
So there's a big stadium there. It's the Velodrome. It's the largest football stadium in the country. Its capacity is 67,000.
Holy boy. 67,000?
Yeah, but listen to this.
Whoa.
It's got an undulating roof because of the Mistral winds. Now, the Mistral winds are what makes the wine so good in the region. And so they had to put this really special roof on it. And so that's something to see if you get to go.
Interesting.
And you want to spend more time there. We didn't get to see it, but I want other people to be able to go.
Funky. Huh.
There's a 19th century Neo-Byzantine church. It's the Notre Dame de la Garde. That's a really popular one.
Right.
Destination or thing to see there. There's national parks, museums. There's trendy neighborhoods that are really colorful and good to walk in. There's fishing villages and beaches.
Yeah.
So listen, this place has
a little bit of everything.
Yes, it's got a lot of history. We're going to talk about the two sort of historical places we saw. And then it's just got like cool stuff to do in a cool city, urban town.
Yes.
So, major city.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because I always thought it was smaller than it was, and then we walk in, it's like, this place it's large.
Yeah.
There's my first, so whether it's second or third biggest, it's big.
Yeah.
It's a metropolitan area.
And there's lots of good stuff to eat.
Yeah, there's lots of good stuff to eat. So should we talk about going into the city, or
yes.
Because
Take our listeners through what we went through, because there was a lot of traffic.
So again, I get to drive, and this is one of the benefits, by the way, if you're an American listening to us, and because most people in other countries grow up with, they know how to drive a stick.
Sure.
Like a manual transmission. If you're an American, if you don't drive a stick, you're a sissy. There, I said it. I've been driving a stick decades. I know how to do it. I grew up on one. It's second nature.
I prefer automatic. I can drive one, but I can't do the hills.
Yeah. And right now we're driving an automatic, but before it's been a stick, and it's like, I love this thing.
It's because of me. We have the non-stick car.
Well, also because, we're driving around, I'm holding a hamburger in one hand, a taco in the other hand, a drink, big gulp drink in the other. Where's the stick shift go? I can't do everything here. And I'm, so I
like to drive with my knee.
The thing
is, just kidding.
Yeah. So here's what happens is that, so I'm driving around and everything is fine, except I will say this. parking. Why does it always come down to parking?
It does.
Parking is at a premium. And look, if you're going to immerse yourself in a culture, just get used to the fact you might be driving. And it's probably going to be a stick shift, number one. And number two, you can't park. One of the reviews we read, one of the dings about the city is that parking is difficult, even by French standards.
Even by the local standards.
Yeah. And so what happens is we're driving along.
I'm navigating with my Google Maps or whatever I have pulled up on the phone.
Over there, it's called Map de Google. I know, that's Google, it's these guys. So we're driving and we're going up a very steep hill.
Well, okay, so you have to go up and down hills.
Yeah.
Because from the port, you have to go up into town.
Yes.
And so, this is not a flat place by any means.
Oh, no. And everything
It's on the coast.
It's on the coast. So it's coastal. It's cobblestoney. It's narrow and all this stuff. I got this car. I'm going up this hill. And we're looking for this one specific, it's a bakery.
Yes.
I won't say restaurant because, you can take the stuff and eat it there. Really, it's a bakery. You pick up the stuff and you walk out.
Yeah.
It is called Le Fort de Navettes.
Yes.
Oh.
And we wanted to base this around the food because, again, we started off by knowing anything about this place by watching Anthony Bourdain go and eat food there.
Yeah. And if there's food in a place, I'm going to go eat it. So we say, okay. And so she is riveted, I tells you, to this very small Google map screen. She's looking at it going, okay, it's coming up. And there's a parking space that appears. The heavens open, the angels sing, ha, ha, ha. And the next thing you know, I'm like, yes, I go zipping, ha, 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 ha.
I wouldn't call it zipping.
Okay, well, there's some parallel parking involved
There
and
was
some cursing.
Look, we were on a hill and you were driving a stick shift. Uh-huh. And there was traffic behind us.
And there were people behind us.
The pressure was on.
Oh, the pressure is on.
But you did great.
Oh, thank you. I do this with the confidence of a 5-year-old boy in a Batman outfit. I just walk in and go, yeah, I got this. What's the problem? So I just park this sucker and life is good. And you're still looking at your screen. And it's like, okay.
I'm like, okay, I think this is good. This is good. Because we drove around the block a couple of times. Yeah. And I was like, but we didn't actually see the place proper.
Yeah.
Because the sign, it's painted on the brick. It's way up high. It's like a 4-story building. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, it's around this corner. I think it's this block. I think this is good parking. You did really good. This is a good parking space.
To which I point directly at the building next to us and go, is that it?
I look out my window. I'm like, oh my God, that's it. We got so lucky with the parking again. We have a long standing a history.
The parking gods are favorable to us.
Oh my gosh, it happened again. We were so lucky.
Yeah, we were very, very, and by the way, there's no skill involved with doing this.
Well, here's the
That's
deal.
Just like, oh yeah, we'll park there.
And one of the reasons we were like, let's find this bakery is because we wanted to see 2 of the more historical sites in the port area to the right of it.
Right.
Actually, if you're looking at the port, to the left. And then we wanted to go to this bistro, this cafe that Anthony Bourdain went to the left, or if you're facing the port, to the right of it.
It's a block away.
And I was like, that parking space was everything.
Equidistant to everything that is all good and wholesome. So do you want to start with the food or start with the sights to see?
Well, I'll start with first. We went and we got one of the navettes.
Yes.
A navette is a boat-shaped biscuit. Mm-hmm. It's orange flavored. Oh, it's so good. And I took some notes. I just wanted everybody to kind of understand what it was. They have a historical significance. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They commemorate Mary Magdalene and Saint Martha and their voyage to Marseille by boat 2,000 years ago.
Wow.
And they're very popular to eat around the holidays. They're always served around Christmas. The bakery hasn't stopped producing these cookies since 1781.
Wow.
So that's really cool.
Day.
Yeah. The bakery's only had 3 owners in 2 centuries. Can you even believe that?
I did not know.
I know. I wanted to kind of shock you with that one.
Yeah.
They're made from traditional methods. The dough is carefully selected. It's prepared with an old paddle worked. The dough is old. It's paddle worked dough. It's not kneaded.
Yeah.
And then it's baked in an oven built in 1781. Mm-hmm. And that's based on an original Roman model. They have a unique taste and they're usually consumed on February 2nd, known as Candlemas Day, although they can be bought year round.
Okay.
Anyway, we got them and we had them and they were yummy. They were fun. They were they were easy to eat and it's just some little biscuits, tea biscuits.
Yeah.
They were yummy.
And this bakery, it's on top of the hills and it's Le Fort de Navettes.
Yes.
And you walk in and it's just this nice little bakery.
Yeah.
And there's all these displays up and you walk in and just say, hi, we'd like 2, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah.
you know, and because I can count to 10 in French or I can use my fingers. And the guy was like, yeah, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
And you get them. There's a big brick fireplace oven thing
Yes,
there.
we took pictures of it because apparently it's like made a certain way and
Yes.
like constructed in a way that makes this when all of the bread comes out and the navettes come out, because they also make other things there. It's very unique.
And these are the sorts of things that you would eat with like coffee or tea.
Yes.
Because they're a little bit hard and crunchy, but they have a really sweet orangey flavor. They were sweeter than I thought they'd be.
I know, me too.
Yeah, I was like, oh, these are delicious. So
Yeah.
check that place out. 1781. They've been doing this for over 200. I'm doing the math. 230 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Really cool.
That's the place to go to get your navette.
Okay.
So that's one food.
That's one. Now, I wrote down actually some other foods that Marseille is known for. Now, here is the deal. We talked about this in another episode. We talked about when we visited Barcelona, the influence from other places in the Mediterranean
Right.
on that cuisine,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is not just traditional like Spanish or Latin cuisine. Like, it is influenced by like Italy.
Yeah, all the
Italian
different
food.
cultures.
Yeah.
And it's a seaport. Yeah,
It's
totally.
the
People
same
come
with
through.
Marseille. So
Oh, yeah?
like there's a lot of North African food influence. So you have a lot of, it's like French cuisine merged with Moroccan flavors, a lot of saffron from like the Mediterranean area, Italian influence, Greek
I'm getting
influence.
hungry just listening to you talk about food right now.
I'm talking about Moroccan stews, soups, chickpeas. They actually make a French fry, and it's called panisse or panissa, I think is what it's called. And anyway, it's made with chickpeas, but it's made like a French fry.
Oh.
And so that is definitely some of that North African influence. And then there's all this other like influence, like herbs and spices from all over the Mediterranean.
Oh, I love this.
Oh yeah. So one of the other foods that we really wanted to try was we really wanted to have the bouillabaisse. So bouillabaisse is, they used to call it the poor man's soup, but now it's very fancy.
Oh, it's fancy
And
stuff.
so they fancy it up. Lots of different seafood in it. It's basically the seafood that's available that day or week. And so it's multiple types of fish, shellfish, crab, lobster, mussels, sea urchin even, made with mirepoix and veggies and potatoes and herbs and a tomato seafood stock base. And so it is so good. And you basically dip your bread in it and just, it's so good.
That's the sound you make.
And so we wanted to have that. And so we went down to the place where Anthony Bourdain,
which is right down from the Navette place.
yes, and
yeah,
it's
just
called,
right down the road.
It's Café de la Abbey. It's a bistro. Everyone in there spoke English. It was really nice. They served espresso, craft cocktails. It's that we looked at the menu and there was that fusion of the Mediterranean and Moroccan dishes. So there was hummus and eggplant and fish entrees.
Oh, it's so good.
It was
It's
so good.
So good.
And so we ordered the bouillabaisse, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
I mean, it was light and flavorful. And it came with bread. And then we actually had the pastis, the anise flavored aperitif, and it was strong. Like
Yes.
we had to like sip a little bit of it because we had to drive.
yeah, this is around noon. I think we were doing
Yeah.
this. It's like, oh yeah, for lunch, bam,
Yeah.
here you go.
But it's a quaint little like place just right on the street. And they had some outside seating, but we just, it was like, it's a bistro. It kind of reminded me of like when we have been to Ireland, some of the pubs. It was a little darker inside, but it was still like bright and like, it felt homey. It was where a lot of locals would eat lunch.
Yes.
And so it was really nice to be around that, but it was really good.
So we found, we got our food on, and I think
We got our eats on.
We did an admirable job.
We got a good feed.
As far as that goes. So it's like, okay, so we're well fed. We're still well parked. I checked the parking, and this was, by the way, a metered space. So we checked the parking meter and things were still good there.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, so what else can we do?
Well, and then so I'll mention just two other things. I wanted to try some of the madeleines.
Oh,
the
yeah.
sponge, But they were out of them. They were on the menu, but they didn't have them. They weren't fresh made that day yet.
All right.
So anyway, if you go, you should try those. And then also, you can also get just seafood with aioli is really popular.
Right.
So we ate and I just wanted to mention those for the listeners.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so we ate and then we went to see the sights. And so you basically come out of either the bistro or the Fort de Navettes, and you turn and you go sort of walk up around the port a little more, and you run into two really big like buildings.
Yeah.
Like one's a fort and one just looks kind of like a castle.
And here's the deal. If our directions are a little bit loopy on this,
Yeah.
you can't miss them. They are the large buildings that are close to the water.
Yes.
So if you're looking towards the water, see the two big, fortresses in front of you. That's what we're talking about
And
here.
this is the old fort area. And that's really important to point out because there's lots of different areas. There's a new like port area, which is where the cruise ships were.
Right.
And so this is where the old port, old fort, like all of that is.
Yes.
And so that's the area that you want to be in.
The historical stuff.
Yes. All right. So the first thing that we saw and walked around, and it was really cool, was the Abbey St. Victor. It was a former abbey that was founded during the Roman period in Marseille, and it was named after a local soldier, saint, and martyr, Victor of Marseille. Lots of history. You can look up. We didn't get to go inside, but walking around the grounds was really cool.
Yes.
And just looking at it, and we just kind of like munched on our Navettes and like walked around and looked at that. But it was really cool.
And you just see it from the outside and go, wow, just even from the outside, it's like, that's a thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I see you have some. Do you want to like talk about?
Yeah, because inside of it there is some interesting architecture. There are crypts there.
Yeah.
The thing is that, and one reason we weren't really compelled to go inside of it was that they tell you, if you look at these things on the travel websites, this is not as ornately decorated as most of the other abbeys and churches and religious shrines.
Some of it was removed.
Yes.
I remember reading.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
as it like changed hands.
Yeah, and so you can look and go, okay, this was nice, and they'll tell you what was in there, but what actually is in there right now, it's been pulled back a little bit.
Because certain people took it over at certain times.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't have all the stuff in there. If you go to a lot of churches, because some people just go, hey, I want to see what a church looks like, or this shrine, or this mosque, or this, whatever. And they look and it's like, this one just doesn't have everything on the inside anymore simply because a lot of it got taken away.
Right, yeah.
So it's like, okay, so we saw the outside of that.
And that was really pretty.
It is. It's pretty striking, actually.
Yeah.
So.
And then we went and we looked at Fort St. Nicholas.
Yes.
And that's a military building. And this is why it's important to kind of like start off this show by saying what the vibe is and like what it's like around there.
Yeah, this is a weird thing. You told me this. I had no idea this was true. I thought you were making this up.
No, for serious.
No.
It's built on a high hill. You can see it very well, like, and walk over to it. And it was meant to warn against attacks to the city, but it also acted as a sort of center of attack against the citizens of Marseille when they tried to show some kind of independence against the authorities.
Wow.
Which is kind of funny knowing what we know about like, all of the potential clashing of cultures or like, all the stuff that can happen when a lot of different people from different places show up and hang out somewhere.
Yeah. So whenever there's a revolution, you see the, the old medieval stuff about people with pitchforks and torches, they go running through.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're going for that fort. And the fort's like, oh yeah, we're protecting the city. Now we're just protecting those of us inside of the fort, not you commoners. Oh man. They're like, we helped build this. That's rude. Dude.
It was really pretty. And so we read that you had to make an appointment. And obviously this was a day trip. And we had to go catch a cruise ship.
Yep.
So we didn't. But then I also read that you can just show up. So if you're going, just find out. Yeah. But it's really cool to look at and walk around and see. Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the deal. I have no problems with Marseille at all. I mean,
No.
it was a lovely town. We had a lot of fun there. The food was great. A lot of culture. And here's the thing. If you're on a cruise ship in the Mediterranean, chances are you might just hit this town.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Let's give you a little bit of knowledge about this. All right.
Yeah.
Not only
hit me to your knowledge.
is it a popular place for cruise lines in the Mediterranean, so if you're on a boat, odds are good you're going to go rambling through there.
Sure.
Here are some of the cruise lines that visit there. Costa Cruises.
Oh, cool.
MSC, that's what we were on.
Yep.
Celebrity. Oceania. Windstar. Princess. Norwegian. Regent. Holland America. Carnival. Viking. Royal Caribbean. And Virgin Voyages, just to name a few.
It's all of them.
Pretty much. I think it's one of those where it's just like, oh yeah, we're totally in the States. Look, you're probably going to go out of, say, Miami or
a lot of places in Florida.
Like that. Yeah.
Some places like New Orleans or Texas. Isn't there like...
Yeah, Galveston has a bunch out of there.
And then California.
Yeah, California, it's San Diego.
Up north, but those are totally different types of cruises.
Yeah, but then you look at these places
Alaska,
like,
maybe.
Yeah, and then everybody basically goes from here.
Right.
So chances are you're going to hit this place.
Well, it's easy to fly to from Paris when you get into Charles de Gaulle.
Yeah.
So if you're coming in just to go on a cruise, then you get to Paris and you take your smaller plane down to Marseille, and it's like back and forth. They have a lot of flights in and out. So
And there's also a high-speed rail between Marseille and Paris, which we almost took, but we thought, no, we're going to go ahead and fly this because, you know, I'm just more comfortable doing the airport-to-airport connection.
Yeah, sure.
I was like, okay, we'll try that.
Yeah.
But, so you can definitely get there.
Yeah.
And apparently on some days, upwards of 16,000 people show up.
I
on
literally believe
16,000 people come walking off the pier and say, hey, where's lunch? I'm not making that
Did
up.
I tell you that it's been called the French Ellis Island? Just from people immigrating. I mean, it's got a lot of traffic, but also just people coming in to go on the cruise ships and take the Mediterranean cruises.
Oh, they're used to having a lot of people come through.
A lot of that does not shock me at all.
No, not at all. So if you're in Marseille, another city that's in driving distance that you really need to check out is Aix-en-Provence.
Yes.
Am I saying that correctly?
You are. And it's good that we are talking about it and you're mentioning it because Marseille is the day trip.
Yeah.
But this is also like another little side jaunt.
Yeah.
And we stayed there because we were coming back from the truffle hunt and watched that episode on YouTube or listened to it.
Yeah, the truffles we've seen. If you haven't checked that on Voca Vacay yet, you are missing out.
Check out that episode as well. But like, it's nice to mention because it's just right up the road from Marseille. And that's really the connector between Marseille and the Luberon or Provence.
Yes.
And so it's a nice little city that you can visit and stay in if you're going to go up and do any of the vineyards or wine tastings, or like a truffle hunt, or see any of the Provence region that's not on the coast where Marseille is.
Yeah, this is the next good sized city in where you can still get a hotel, accommodations, food, and all that stuff. So it's tourist friendly.
Yeah.
They call it Aix, by the way. It's spelled A-I-X on Provence.
Yeah.
And if you just say Aix, they know what you're talking about. It has a totally different vibe.
Oh my gosh, but I'm glad we're mentioning it because it needs to be mentioned in conjunction with Marseille, because if Marseille is booked, you come in, you can't find a place to stay or like something, it's like weird hours, you're trying to get on your cruise ship, drive on up to Aix and it's right up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's a different vibe, but it's definitely worth mentioning.
The fun thing about Aix is that when we talk about a different vibe, unlike the tourist or the transitional places,
transient sort of
people coming through Marseille, this place, it's inland.
Yes.
It's a college town.
It is.
Primarily. A whole lot of college students there.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, I'm a college. And if you walk around, you just see that it's a younger demographic there.
Yeah.
I don't want to say hipper because that means I'm no longer in college and I think I'm still kind of cool.
I think one of the oldest universities in France is there.
Yeah. So they have all this history and they have all this knowledge and wisdom stuff. Here's the amazing thing about Aix. And I did not know this, but once you see it, you go, oh, now it makes sense. This place, it's pedestrian friendly. There's a central area that you can walk around in. Lots of nightlife. We saw this. Lots of nightlife, lots of clubs, a lot of craft shops, specialty artisan shops. And check this out. More than 1,000 outdoor fountains.
We saw fountains and I was like, why are there so many stinking fountains?
Yeah.
They were beautiful.
Yeah.
But I had no idea why.
Yeah.
Like, it just has it's a place that has a lot of fountains.
Yeah. You're just walking around. It's like, and so if you're one of these people, it's like, I'm going to put a few coins in the fountains. Like, take a lot
pick one.
Oh, yeah, take a lot of coins, honey. Okay, Rockefeller, take some coins with you. Because there's, you turn around, it's like, there's another fountain. And let me explain. Okay, I will give a shout out to a properly good civil engineer when I meet one.
Sure.
But whoever designed the Axe infrastructure and road work, I don't know what sort of dish of spaghetti he modeled this after. But I'm not making I swear I'm not making this up. If you go walking down pedestrian, it's like there's nice big open areas, then you'll turn a corner and it's like, okay, we go in this neighborhood and there's quaint little shops and there's nightclubs and there's people sitting out having their coffees or whatever. It's great. But here's the deal. Then you come to an intersection and unlike two roads crossing at 90-degree angles, you'll have a road shooting off this way. Tangentially, there's one here. There's one going here. There's a loop-de-loop, a cul-de-sac, and everything's like rue de blah. And I'm like, what? And a lot of these things don't have signs, even of rue de blah. It's just, I don't know where I'm going. And thankfully, I was walking because I can get unstuck easier walking than driving. You got to fully commit one way or the other.
I like to call roads like that squirrely.
Oh, squirrely was
because they just
pleasant
kind of
word.
like curve around in little like that like little curves, like,
Yeah.
but you squirrel around and they never seem to have like corners.
Yeah.
It's all like rounded curves.
You could not find a 90-degree turn in the city if you paid money. And I mean that. Where am I going now?
Well, so the driving is a challenge, and maybe it's because you have to squirrel around so many fountains. I don't know. But like, so the driving is what it is, but can we just talk about the parking?
Okay.
Because that was like, oh my gosh.
We pull in. Okay, let's talk about the parking.
We said we had good luck with parking.
Except in it wasn't
bad.
It wasn't bad. It was just more awkward and cumbersome than it needed to be.
We had to park under a mall.
Yes.
It was just like weird.
There's basically one underground parking garage in France, and we had to park there. Is how I look at it, because we pull in. We'll talk about the hotel we stayed at in a second. Yeah. But we pull in and, we check in. It's like, where do we park? You cannot park. You could park on the streets, but there's nowhere to park there. And they said, go ahead, see where the mall is. It's an outdoor mall, lots of shops. There's a parking garage. Just park under there.
It was walkable distance. It was very close. It was
around
literally
the
across the street around the corner.
No big deal. So we get down there and holy moly, this was the most complicated, convoluted,
underground parking, and the spaces were nothing short of tight. Like, it was just really hard.
These were small by European small compact car standards.
I had to get out, shut my door so that you could park and then get out of the car. Like, you had to have room. Had we tried to get out of the car at the same time,
would not happen.
Would not have happened.
No. And it was almost the point, like, if I had a hatchback SUV, I would have popped the back and crawled out I'm not making that up.
Maybe that's what they do though over there. I mean, the cars are small and you park in tight spaces. Maybe that's what people do traditionally, is say, okay, everybody get out and I'll park the car.
Okay, this parking garage was designed for an armada of mopeds. Okay, no cars should have been allowed in there. It was an absolute disgrace. So I said, okay, so we parked there, bad, but we get a park.
It's fine.
It was safe. It was fine. It was okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't that far.
I didn't feel weird walking up with our bags.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I felt super safe, and like, we just go to the hotel. So let's talk about the hotel.
The hotel, let's go ahead and call these guys out right now. Hotel Artia Axe Center.
Artia. I think Artia.
Hotel Artia Axe Center. Yeah, you know how
first impressions last a long time.
They do.
Well, everything appeared really nice. It's not a bad hotel.
No, it's not. We got preface of saying it's not bad.
No.
But when you walk in,
it looks quaint and lovely from the outside.
Quaint and lovely. That's the word. Quaint and lovely from the outside.
And then the grand entryway, quaint and lovely.
Quaint and lovely, the grand entry. And you have to like go up to like the second floor or whatever.
Yeah.
To the reception desk.
Yes.
Again, these people, quaint and lovely. Very nice.
Then it takes a turn though.
Then it gets weird.
Then you're like, this kind of looks like the reception desk or entryway, or like, because now you're upstairs in a different entryway.
Right.
This kind of looks like a hostel. Like, I was like, is this a hotel or a hostel? Because if you book a hostel, you are booking a hostel.
Right. I've been in hostels.
You're like, cool.
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
I'm fine with that.
But I thought this was a hotel. So I was like really confused.
No, the difficulty I had was that here's and it was a great rate, as a fantastic location.
Fine.
Not a problem there. So we go walking down the hall. But
it did have a good location.
But here was the challenge that I had.
Yeah.
Okay. And you go walk down the hall, and here's your room key. And let's say I have room key 258. I don't know, or whatever. But we start at room 201, 202, 203, 204. And then the hall sort of makes a weird left-hand angle jog.
Yes.
And so I'm thinking, okay.
You go left and then right.
So now we're in like the 220s. 204, 205. Like,
and then you go right and then left.
206. It's like, how long is this hallway? And you realize from the outside what is quaint and all that. What they did, what we suspect they did, is they took all the neighboring buildings on the top floor and converted all those into one big labyrinth of a hotel.
Yes. But the building
just doesn't end.
From the outside, it only looks like it's one part. Like the facade looks like it's like one building.
Like a quaint little corner bed and breakfast. Yeah. And you go up, this place is huge, and it just keeps going.
Now look, the location was great because we were on one of the main square.
Oh yeah, we were on the main drag.
Yeah, and so it was cool, and for the price, it was great. Then we got to the room after, like I'll say again, squirreling around.
We were hiking for this room.
And squirreling around.
Yes,
like
we were.
it was just a lot of
Not a straight shot at all.
no. And so once we get to the room, that's when I'm like, we are definitely at a hostel.
Yeah.
It was definitely like, here's your bed and here's your like, no kidding, the dresser or any kind of table like next to the bed. There was probably walking space for a very petite person to get in between all of that.
Yeah.
It was tiny.
It was.
Teeny tiny.
Yes.
And it was like, this is definitely a hostel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the bathroom, I mean, it was fine, but I'm glad we were just there one night because it was not a place that I would say was luxurious enough to relax in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a transitional type of room.
Yeah, and we're not trying to be snobs about this because we'll
No.
stay where, we
It's
have
just-
stayed in hostels, we have camped, we've
Oh,
done
yeah.
primitive camp, it's not a big deal. But when you see something on the website and then you see the outside of it, it's like, oh, that's adorable. And you get in, it's like, and it got, the further I walked down this incredibly long hallway, the more unnerved I got. Where you start looking, it's like, are we still in the same hotel? I really
Right.
started
Yes,
feeling that
that's true.
after a while because
Here's
it just
what-
kept going.
I kind of wonder if like they have a hostel component to the hotel
Oh,
and
they
then
might
regular rooms.
have.
And we just booked whatever because we were like, oh, it's a double bed.
It's a double bed. We don't care. We're on the boat the next day. Who cares?
Whatever. But it was tight. Like, and
It-
we've been in some tight hotels.
Yeah.
But this was something.
Yeah. Had to go outside to change my mind.
Now
So-
here's the thing. Would we recommend it again? I would.
Yeah.
Because for the price and
Yes.
being right where it is located,
Yes, great
and
location.
just paying for what you need, which
Yes.
is really, we only needed like a bed.
Yes.
And that was like it.
Yeah.
Because we just wanted to go out, eat, come back, and then make our way down to Marseille for our day trip.
Yeah, it was
So,
fine.
yeah, it was fine.
So no problem there. The other thing about Axe, which I did not realize, I feel like a complete moron for missing this, is there a very famous artist, painter,
Sure.
Paul Cezanne, is from there, or
Yeah.
he's passed away years ago. But what has happened is that he was born there. He lived most of his life there. He went to Paris for a bit. He came back. He actually died
Yeah.
in Axe. And here's the amazing thing, which you can do, which we did not get to do.
Yeah.
But I would encourage people to check this out if you're going to Axe because it is kind of a cool little
It's
vibe.
cool.
And one of the reasons why it's so cool is that this guy who was around about 100 years ago, and I think they call him the father of Impressionist painting.
Yeah.
So Cezanne's kind of a big deal. You can go to his house/studio. His studio has been preserved the way it was when he was still painting because they had an upstairs studio loft and the models would come up or he'd set out bowls of fruit or he'd set up a little statue or whatever and he would do his painting. Here's the cool thing. The robe that he painted in is still there and it
That's
still
so
has
cool.
paint smeared on it.
Yeah.
The props that he used, not like the bowls of fruit. The fruit is long gone, of course.
Yeah.
But the bowls themselves or whatever that he had, you can see them. So if you're
Wow.
familiar with his artwork, you can say, I remember seeing that in something that he painted before.
Yeah.
That's the bowl.
Yeah.
That's the vase. That's the jar. That's the thing that
Wow.
Cezanne used as a model.
Well, and here's the thing. We mentioned in our other day trip, Nice, that you should also listen to or check out on our YouTube.
Yeah.
That a lot of artists gravitated toward this area because it's the French Riviera and it's really beautiful. And so Matisse spent several years in Nice and Chagall had great influence there. And so, yeah, this is totally a thing.
And it was really nice. So, I mean, it's one of those nice things to learn about. I wish we would
Yeah.
have seen it. But again, with a day trip, as we
Yeah.
said before, a day trip, it's sort of like, on the fly, hey, what can we pick up here? Let's pick up some good food. Let's
Yeah.
look around and just do a cursory overview. Would we go back to this area? Absolutely. We would love to do that.
I would actually love to spend more time. I
Yeah.
want to eat more food
Yeah.
in Marseille.
And see more stuff.
Because some of the neighborhoods looked really cool and where the locals eat and like, yeah. But, and the seafood, I mean, come on.
Seafood. I eat food.
But then Axe also, because it's just such a cool like little college town, I'd actually like to go around and see some of the universities. I
Yeah.
think there's a few universities there. And I think one of them's like the oldest.
Yes.
So that would be really cool.
Yeah, it is. And I would give you the name, but it's in French and I could not pronounce it. And so to not embarrass my academic brethren, I will simply say it has some universities there and they're very old and very prestigious
Yes.
and nice. All right.
What
Fair
a
enough.
good day trip, though,
It was
that
a day trip. So
Yeah.
remember, if you check us out on vocavacay.com, you will find our regular episodes and this day trip, which is coupled with our day trip in Nice.
Yes.
And
So
we're
listen to that one too.
So listen to that one, so you'll find out what we did in the French Riviera when we were not on a boat, which was our 4-part MSC cruise series.
Or any of the other stuff we did in that area.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the bigger, longer episodes where we visited other cities.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2 little day trips,
Yeah.
kind of fun times.
It's fun. So remember, check out day trips where you can. If you have a long excursion, try to build a day trip in one. Of course, during the times of COVID, if you have a day trip around your house, your community, try to cram one in. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Sounds good?
Breaks up the monotony of COVID especially.
Yeah, and if you can't do that, hey, remember, check us out on vocavacay.com. And, of course, we're on all those social media, like the Book of Faces, the Instagrams.
The tweeters.
And
the tubes.
I can't keep up with all the stuff that we do. And, of course, remember, hey, vacation like it's your job. Take it seriously and have some fun.
And live vicariously through yourself.
Darn right. That's Marie over there.
That's Frank.
And we'll see you next time on Voca Vacay. Love ya, miss ya, mean it. Bye.
Don't forget to click subscribe. As always, #Voca Vacay at Voca Vacay and visit vocavacay.com.